rivalry goes all the way back to like Season 1, Season 2. Through many different rosters, it's just stick there, that rivalry.
Link is out from the mid lane, and they brought in Pobelter.
He's the player that gives me the hardest challenge out of anyone.
Whoa! Wow! Wait a minute! That was amazing prediction by Pobelter.
I can see a lot of back and forth. Probably going to be a kill or two in there somewhere.
Yerson just ridiculous outplay on Pobelter there.
Pobelter has so much to prove. I think beating TSM is like the first step in him solidifying himself as like one of the top carry mid laners in this region.
Welcome back, everyone, to our continuing coverage of the North American LCS. We're just minutes away from the game of the week, CLG versus TSM. But first, we're going to check on the conversation going on over on Twitter. We asked you earlier, what nickname do you give the rivalry showdown between CLG and TSM? Now, there were a ton of fun options to choose from, but we narrowed it down to these four. @Cyclol says the Big Bang rivalry, because it's always explosive. Following, Torang Wildheart says there is only one way to refer to TSM versus CLG deathmatch, free fantasy points for all, aka free SM versus free LG. Next, we have @Jackernati, who is suggesting the rivalry between CLG and TSM should be called the Salt Wars. And speaking of Salt Wars, you don't have to wonder who is the next fan, or who this next fan rather is rooting for. @ZCudlaw writes, I call it the Trash Clash. #C9win.
This sounds like just how you could describe the entirety of the European LCS. I mean, why limit it to 2 teams here?
There it is. The gauntlet has been thrown. If you want to share your thoughts on the subject, tweet us @LollySports and use the #LCS.
I don't know if we get to do that for a little while. I mean, MSI, man. I don't know.
We got some time. We got some time.
It's the best of one to figure it out.
All right. Well, now, back to the matter at hand. As we turn our attention to the game of the week, we're going to send it over to Kobe for a word with TSM's analyst.
Thank you, Dash. Yes, I am here with Parth, the analyst for TSM, and now you've become a permanent fixture for TSM. Would you like to introduce yourself to all the lovely TSM fans?
Sure. Hi, I'm Parth. I work with TSM for the Spring Split, and they brought me in. I should be staying at the house through Worlds.
Congratulations on your new position. Now, working for TSM, TSM historically, they've had a problem, adapting to new play styles, as we saw at MSI. What do you do as an analyst to empower the team to try and deal with these situations?
Sure. So there are a lot of things you need to adapt to. So you have the regional meta, and each team plays a different style. So while we're practicing week to week, we also have to keep in track of making sure we can take the games and also making sure that overall we're keeping up with the meta in other regions too.
All right, well, as far as the opponent in front of you right now, CLG, what do you think is CLG's greatest strength right now?
I think CLG bringing Pobelter in actually makes them a really strong team. I think when a new player is introduced to the team, all the other players get super excited, super hyped, and you're seeing that in the first 2 weeks. And I definitely think that they're going to make a strong showing this split, regardless of what happens today.
All right, well, good luck to you guys trying to control that mid lane then. Let's get right into the game. First, though, we're going to send it back to the desk.
Thank you, Kobe. Now let's get down to the main event, Counter Logic Gaming versus Team Solo Mid.
Man, and every time these two teams clashed during the spring split, it was always when they were both at their peak. It was like, oh, CLG's on the rise. They're going up. They have these rotational plays that everybody's talking about. TSM looks good. And then when they clash, CLG would lose. And when CLG would lose after their golden age, it was always, they wouldn't even recover from the TSM. They would lose trust in each other, and it would be this big speed bump, but that would just crush them for a while. And then when they come back, and it was like, oh my God, here comes IEM Katowice. They look so good. They were always in the conversation for #1. Then they lose to TSM, and then they don't recover until now. And that's a big thing, because if they want to be able to go through TSM today, a lot of it's going to be Pobelter in the mid lane. They have this new guy in the mid lane, and we just heard Parth talking about it. He's bringing a new energy to the team. Everybody is just excited to work with him. The trust is high, and they're in that honeymoon phase. Is this where CLG breaks through the ceiling that is TSM?
Well, and if you look at the history of this matchup, TSM is starting to squeak out a lead. TSM are ahead 10-8 in the regular season when this matchup occurs. That lead grows to 14-9 when we throw in playoff games as well.
Yeah, and honestly, you have to consider that TSM are definitely very strong. And especially with their mid lane focus. Like, we talk about how CLG keeps losing trust. Well, they keep losing trust to the mid laners. Which team does better job at punishing mid laners? TSM. I think TSM now stands for Team Several Mid because they're pretty much 3v1ing that lane at most times. And Bjergsen getting ahead, I mean, he pretty much single-handedly won the game against Impulse once he got that early lead. And this, to me, means I need to look at Smithy because we kind of know what Santorin's going to be up to. He's going to show up in the mid lane. He'll probably ward for Bjergsen and whatnot. And Smithy can do that as well. Like, half of Smithy's work is already cut out for him. Great, I can just ward the jungle and put up some wards for Pobelter, and these ganks can all be stopped. Or he can choose a different style and be like, Pobelter, we trust you to stay safe without any ganks. I'm going to show up on either Zion's lane or Doublelift's lane, and one of those guys are going to be sort of the counterbalance, where one of these two powerhouse carries is going to get ahead and win the game for CLG.
Yeah, and you were talking about CLG and trust, and that it was usually the mid lane, but that wasn't always the case. Top lane. Now they have Zion Spartan. They have a rock in the top lane. They went through 2 different top laners at one point to find this guy, and this is an opportunity for both top laners in this matchup. Can Zion juggle being a carry top laner and a shot caller at the same time on this team? And can TSM and Dyrus, can they finally show us, because they talked about it after MSI, they need to put their money where their mouth is, because they were talking about top lane jungle priority strategies. We have yet to see them. Are they going to bring them out here against that carry top lane of Zion?
All right, well, we'll find out soon enough. Let's send it over to the caster desk to see how this game plays out. On the way, both teams always bring their A game to this matchup, and Doublelift doesn't expect today to be any different.
Always, like, when TSM plays CLG, this is like the hype matchup. Both teams always play really, really well. So I don't really expect either team to underperform. I think this will really show, like, who's the better team.
Well, we will get to see who is the better team, and we have called in reinforcements for this match. Joining us for a TriCast is Sam, Kobe, Hartman, Kensler now. Welcome
Made it
to the
just in
nest.
time.
Great interview, by the way, on the day. Let's check out the teams with a quick roster rundown. On the blue side, it's Counter Logic Gaming. That's Zion Spartan in the top lane, Smithy in the jungle, Pobelter in mid. Your AD carry is Doublelift and Aframu at support.
And facing against them, of course, is Team Solo Mid. Woo! Still got some fans out here. Dyrus in the top lane, Santorin in the jungle, Bjergsen in the mid lane, Wild Turtle on AD carry, and Lust Boy on support.
That's right. This match, the fans are excited to see. So let's check out how you guys have been voting over on LOLesports.com. The people think it's 46 to 54 right now. I think the game's going to Team Solo Mid.
Pretty close right
Pretty
there.
close indeed. None of those 90% that's just going to throw it in someone's face.
I love how close these votes are now. And I also love how all the new blood on both organizations are really getting into the rivalry.
Yeah.
Did you vote, Kobe?
I did not vote.
I know where your vote went. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, Blurred Lions, the new coach of CLG, labeled their trash can.
Yeah.
TSM made a tweet about it. I mean, there's definitely some Salt Wars going on right here.
Salt Wars, that was great.
Tweeted,
Salt Wars was fantastic. We are about to get into this matchup. Like you were saying, Kobe, how much the players themselves have kind of taken to the rivalry as well and built that up in its own kind of being. And now we get to see it once again come to fruition here in the summer split.
2 thumbs up for the Rise ban. I approve.
Even if you don't have either thumb, though, you can still play Rise perfectly.
Yeah, that's right. Face, keyboard, win game. Rumble Gragas banned out on the left side. After that Rise ban, Team Solo Mid's like, I think that's all we needed. Rise, right? That's the one that's going to be huge. No, they know they need to target a few more. It's actually going to be a Yasuo for Zion Spartan, that top lane. He gets a chuckle out of that one. And the team is ready for these bans coming in.
Yeah, pretty much ever since Impact played Yasuo in Week 1 top lane of the LCS,
yeah,
all the NLCS top laners took to spamming him in solo queue, and no one was more proficient at it than Zion Spartan. If anyone saw the video, he had a back-to-back pentakill in one game.
I also really like the ban just because it's a champion that if you do get a small lead, then you can snowball so heavily. And, you know, Dyrus is often the early target of some early jungle pressure, and they don't want to let that get out of control.
You have a point there, Kobe. They do like to focus Dyrus in the early game, no matter what region you're from. Let's see if that happens again here for Counter Logic Gaming if they try to pursue that. One last ban here after the Alistar comes out of Counter Logic Gaming. Will it be that Bard? Well, Aframu gets a Bard.
Yeah, it's been banned 3 out of 3 games against CLG, and with Alistair and Thresh being out
Bard
of pick
is
as
open.
well, I don't think it'll be like... It's not a first pick worthy champion, but it's something that he could definitely play.
It's also been hyped up almost as much as this match, just because everyone keeps banning it against Aframu.
like someone just hit a grand slam just to hover.
Honestly, though, with 2 support bans, this is the most support bans we've seen in a while, since the start of this split. So definitely going to be a high-pressure pick.
Man, Doublelift's getting that Kalista. It's been a very high priority pick ban throughout the first 2 weeks of the summer split. So they get a nice priority pick there at the top of the list. We'll see what Team Solo Mid can answer with.
Kalista is definitely a hard champion to answer as far as the bottom lane goes.
We saw a little bit of Ashe to answer Kalista, at least in the laning phase. I thought we'd end up seeing more Ashe throughout the LCS split, but
as did I.
It's really died off, even though you can use Hawkshot globally. Unbelievably. No, but
you junglers.
Hey man, Hawkshot's scary. There's many more priority picks right here. Ashe wouldn't need to be answered quite yet, especially with the Gragas ban. The Rek'Sai makes the most sense from TSM's perspective. And I really wonder what style they're going to go with their team compositions right now. They've had success with a variety of things if you're CLG, whether it's poke-based or just a whole bunch of damage.
Wow. All right. Blind picking the LB for Bjergsen. He figures that's going to be what he can do within the mid lane. Santorin gets Rek'Sai.
He did it yesterday. Yeah. He's definitely not afraid of any matchups. With the Zed nerfs as well, and Zed also not being popular in the meta, it's very hard to counter LeBlanc. At best, you get skill matchups with other champions.
Yeah, even though Assassins aren't really feeling like they're in, LeBlanc is still one of the most banned champions globally.
Yep.
For those reasons.
And still a great answer for Kalista. You don't have to counter Kalista in her own lane. Bring in a
be able to kill her.
Lane. Yeah, there you go.
No Bard. No Bard. Some groans from the crowd. Nautilus and Maokai picked up here.
Yeah. As soon as you see an assassin like LeBlanc that's going to be trying to make her way to the high priority targets, pick up some really strong front line with point and click CC. A good answer to trying to ward off LeBlanc. Keep Doublelift safe.
Still waiting on the side of Team Solo Mid. Pobelter now has all the time in the world to figure out what he can play against that Bjergsen, as Team Solo Mid figures out what they kind of want to round out their composition with. We heard Pobelter in that video saying he was quite angry at the loss he had from Team Solo Mid on his previous team. Yeah. Now he gets a chance at Revenge. Bard gets locked in. That's Lustboy. And the Gnar for Dyrus.
So, Lustboy's actually already played Bard. He played it at MSI against EDG. That didn't go well. But there's been some time since then. Maybe TSM has put in some actual team practice with the Bard. Bard is good, in my opinion, against tanks. But, oh man.
It's also, he's extremely strong with Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai already, she has an amazing early game and super strong ganks. Bard, you can leave health packs in the jungle to make sure she'll be at 100% without even chugging potions, and you can assist ganks down bottom, because a Nautilus Kalista lane is very, very scary. And if you even think about going towards that lane, you're going to need some sort of special gank, Bard assisted Magical Journey or something to get in there with multiple people.
It's always hard to play against a champion that's relatively new on the main stage when you haven't seen it used to that caliber. You could definitely see some Cosmic Bindings come up big for mispositioning on the side of CLG, or the other way around, that we see Lustboy get himself into trouble. Azir and Lee Sin now locked in. Xmithie's going to go pretty aggressive here in this game with that Lee pickup. Pobelter's got his Azir.
Yeah, Lee Sin against Rek'Sai is very bold. Rek'Sai can shut down Lee Sin fairly well, so Smithy's going to have to find opportunities that aren't near the Rek'Sai, especially with Sejuani up on the table and already a heavy tank line. Interesting choice right there, but they need to keep up with early pressure, is what that pick says to me.
If I was Smithy, I would definitely focus my efforts around the dual lane, and it's not just because this is Counter Logic Gaming. That Lee Sin plus the Kalista Nautilus combo is very, very scary. Whether it's lane swap or not, you have to worry about dives, you have to worry about early pressure. That's where most of their kill pressure is going to come from early on.
Silver makes the most sense.
Catch up to people on some Tempered Fate.
Team-based.
Run away from a fight, get Gnar back in. LeBlanc can worry about herself. Bjergsen's pick now goes to him in the mid lane. We see these compositions rounded out. What are you guys thinking looking now at Counter Logic Gaming and TSM?
Well, it looks like TSM's still going around the Bjergsen strategy. They had 12 kills on LeBlanc yesterday. That was with Rek'Sai jungle support. Bard also significant roam pressure throughout the map. Maybe some lane swaps from TSM, but mainly a mid lane focus game as we normally see.
Yeah. Once again, the matchup, the LeBlanc-Azir matchup that Bjergsen talked about being so easily tipped.
Yet, the 2 times we've seen it, Xiao's been on both sides of that as the Azir and LeBlanc. Got crushed as Azir, then crushed with LeBlanc.
Lucky for Xiao, he's not in this game.
All right! Pobelter going to have to try to reverse the trend that we've been seeing from that matchup.
The coaches to approaches. 6 Loco Doco down. Loco getting a few last words in there, making sure the team knows what to do. Be like, make sure you don't just tempered fate yourselves and stand there and look weird. You're going to have to make this work. You're pulling out a Bard pick. Definitely trying to kind of send a message here.
Absolutely.
Be sure to update your vote with each gank and team fight by tweeting at LOL Esports with either the hashtag CLG win or hashtag TSM win. We'll update those as we get through the game. You see the comms on your screen. The crowd is more than ready. Week 2, day 2, representing the Goliath versus Goliath match here as Chronologic Gaming takes on Team Solo Mid for the rivalry. Let's see what these guys got for each other. We are on the Rift. Head-to-head between these guys, 10-8 in the regular season in favor of TSM. Let's see if CLG can kind of squeeze that deficit back.
It's going to be quite the game. It's earlier on in the season, not as much hype from the last TSM versus CLG game, but whenever these guys have played against each other, I mean, even hearing the analyst desk talk about it, it has set teams on very different trajectories.
That's very true. Seeing CLG kind of go down. And Bjergsen credits Pobelter's smooth transition as well onto CLG to the existing strength of the team.
CLG just had a very solid base, so it was very easy to plug and play someone like Pobelter because he's just a very mechanically skilled player. So when you already have shot callers in space, you already have a lot of the communication going. Just putting in someone like Pobelter who will do solid is just going to elevate your team even more in terms of play. So I think CLG is definitely going to be looking good.
Speaking of Pobelter, I just want to point out that he has opted to take no magic resist glyphs, as we highlighted that for Xiao in his matchup, and a lot of people were giving him flack. Pobelter has decided to go with the same thing. It's not a very rare thing. You know, some mid laners opt to go with the later game, either scaling AP or scaling cooldown reduction. But he is sitting at the 30 base MR, and he's going to rely on the barrier to keep himself from the all-in of Bjergsen. Pobelter has confidence in his laning phase, and he's ruined for the late game, which is basically what CLG are all about. They're all about when we group up, we've got a good front line, we have Azir, all these ways to block the LeBlanc trying to get in and assassinate.
That's something they've been vocal about as well. Having Pobelter on the team assures them that they will have damage from that mid lane coming to the fight. Cosmic binding there from Lustboy. A little bit of harass. Can't do it to 3 people, though. It's only going to go through 2, so he's going to be forced out of this one.
Really interesting
Sword
level
number
1
2.
here. CLG was trying to start strong side jungle and start red. Lustboy ends up harassing and delaying it a fair bit, but we're still, I think, going to end up seeing standard lanes and probably just both junglers going top to bottom of the map in that sense, or red to blue.
We'll see if they can make anything out of this, because otherwise it's just going to be that teleport down for Zion. Meanwhile, Dyrus is going to have an extra lead in that lane because he'll be able to take a big hit and then return with his teleport. Plus, he was in lane first, so got extra experience. This is the way that TSM want to set up Dyrus for early success.
Basically, by Lustboy wandering in on that, it feels like CLG gets those lane swaps improperly. Zion Spartan had to burn his teleport late to the lane experience-wise. Smithy late to his own blue buff. He did take the crab on the way, but it does show us Santorin already hitting level 3 and able to get some nice control over not only the mid lane side of the game, but the top laner's position as well. Dyrus may be set up to succeed in this match.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the duo lanes, having found each other, Doublelift was very outspoken about the game versus Team 8 when he had to play the Sivir into the Kalista. That is an 80-20 matchup in his opinion.
Should.
So we'll see if he's able to use that 80% to try and bully Wild Turtle.
Yeah, Kalista Nautilus.
It's definitely scary.
Is super, super scary, especially if Bard can't initially land his Q, because after that, Bard just has his auto attack, which, if he has a mate behind him, will give him a small slow early on in the game, but definitely not the type of all-in potential that Kalista Nautilus has. This is very much a lane for CLG to win 2v2.
Yeah, ever since those changes to Nautilus E, a lot of early damage that he can trade. All it takes is one hook to get in there. Wild Turtle will be quick with the Spell Shield, though.
Safely being played right now. Yeah, Spell Shield and hovering behind the minions as much as possible to keep it safe in this lane. 26 to 17, though. The 80% is working a little bit, but he's got quite a minion wave, Wild Turtle does, to hit once it gets towards that turret.
Right, so the point now is for CLG to pressure, since they have this big set of minions grouped up at the turret, you try and pressure that wave all the way into the turret and harass Turtle while he's trying to get those CS and even up the CS numbers.
What's interesting about this for CLG is it's very hard to pressure 2v2 against a Rek'Sai. Doublelift mentioned in his interview they're almost trying to draw jungle attention in the 2v2 so that their solo lanes can succeed with the help of xSmithy's jungle ganks. And we're kind of seeing that spread right now. Smithy on the bottom side of the map while CLG is pushed to the top lane, which is usually pretty scary.
That is a good point, because while Kalista Nautilus is very scary with the all-ins and the offensive power, it doesn't have the same reflexive properties as the Thresh Kalista or the Morgana Kalista, which are really, really safe and almost immune to ganks because they have so many options to get out of them. Nautilus, a bit fewer, can make his own escapes.
Hook himself out
Yeah.
and say, good luck to you, sir. Well, he'll get another escape soon once they get that Fate's Call in. Hopefully they can use it in a bit of an aggression and not defense. See what they can do continuously here towards this top side. As we were saying, Doublelift able to get the CS lead there, but Bjergsen with those consumables in the mid lane, bit of a level lead as well as the CS lead there against Pobelter. Decided to bring the ring and the biscuits, not able to harass as much. Doublelift getting hit pretty good, but trade at CS as he's losing, so he's not too worried about it.
Yeah, Darius is doing a pretty good job on the other side of the lane, so keeping a small minion wave to sort of balance the other side. Basically, that leaves mid lane then. And Bjergsen is doing some work.
Fiendish Codex first buy for him, actually a little bit more mana regen. 2 potions for mana as well. Definitely wants to try and either get that barrier off of Pobelter or go hard here soon. Keep farming the waves out and make sure he does not get pushed in. Hasn't happened yet. Pobelter finally getting the wave to actually go to Bjergsen's side, but he's going to be there to pick up most of it. Good play so far around the map. We still have yet to see a kill here. Really any jungler intervention.
And really, we've still seen Santorin kind of out-farm xSmithy, partially based on the start and partially because xSmithy's chasing his own tail a little bit. Santorin cleared the blue buff side of COD's jungle, and xSmithy came in behind to see it. And really, if xSmithy's going to impact a lane, it kind of has to be what is now the bottom lane, the Maokai versus Nara matchup. Generally because if COG is pushed in most of the time and daring Rek'Sai to gank. Additionally, Lee Sin doesn't actually want to run into Rek'Sai on a gank path because Rek'Sai can win that duel. I wonder when these junglers will actually meet, because as of now, it's just been Santorin farming.
Yeah, he's going with the same strategy that he used against Rush. Santorin, he opted for a really early Bomby Cinder back right there as soon as he had the money. So Bomby Cinder going to help him hard farm, and he's got plenty of his camps up. He's already a full level ahead of Smithy, so things going well for Santorin at the moment with the hard farm route, just because Smithy was not able to make any early moves with the Lee Sin.
Good wards and pressure coming out of Turtle and Lustboy now. Not getting too much of an advantage in the lane, but evening that CS back up, causing Doublelift and Afromoon to get that farm under the turret. Not too hard for them. They're going to come back. Should be easy. We'll see what happens here. Doublelift pretty low on mana. Just a bit of extra gold. They'll be all right.
It's actually extremely important to clear those tunnels out because with the rush to level 6 and with the hard farming route, if Santorin gets to just farm his jungle and rely on his ultimate to try and counter gank, then it makes things very, very difficult for CLG. They lose a lot of their playmaking ability.
Ooh, that's a blue buff for Bjergsen. He's just doing that to make sure Pobelter is low for another attack. He's very patient with this aggression that he's using. Just that blue buff looks to be not come up yet or already taken once again.
It's a fortuitous start for TSM, basically all the way back to when Lustboy walked in on CLG's kind of misguessed lane swap. Darius has been able to hold an advantage over Zion Spartan this entire time. The 1v1 for Bjergsen over Pobelter is slightly going in his favor, just LeBlanc versus Azir. And then the 2v2 that CLG thought they'd have an edge on with Kalista Nautilus against a Sivir is going even. So where TSM is supposed to get their small advantages, they are, and where CLG is supposed to be getting theirs, they aren't, which is now a 1,000 gold difference. Slams
him into the wall. Zion Spartan still all right with the fight. He's going to get a little heal from his passive, and he also has Aframu here. I was wondering if once double lift back, they were going to get this switch on, and it doesn't look like they'll actually pull Dyrus into anything tricky.
Yeah, test up TSM communication. They easily should have called this, and they did. Top lane alerts them, recall timings. We are also past the time where, you know, turrets have protection. So if you get a few seconds of alone time with a turret right now on a BF recall for either AD carry, then they can take it down very quickly. Kalista opted to go for the attack speed rather than the BF build, so it looks like Double Lift is going to go with the Runons very quickly.
Oh, hello. Zion Spartan aggression tries to pull Turtle back in. Not enough bite from Turtle, though, for Xmithy to want to show himself. Already going to be seen by a ward, however, as he exits to that tri-brush. I don't know if he's actually been seen just yet as he came through lane. But Wild Turtle and Lustboy playing it very safe here. Pressure from Double Lift and Afro in that bottom lane. Now onto Dyrus, just about to gnaw out. Got to be very careful trying to get good pressure on the turret.
CLG playing very aggressively. The level disparities in that lane. Level 6 for Kalista and Nautilus versus 8 on Gnar and 7 on Rek'Sai. But because they have so much confidence in themselves in the matchup, we're harassing heavily under turret.
All across the board, TSM out farming CLG. Slowly winning this war.
A gold lead for TSM means they're going to be able to make the first moves, and whenever they have that ability in the game, it's usually quite controlled. It's what they did against Cloud9. They just have to prevent the falter in the mid to late game. Great job by Pobelter.
Yeah, that is the key to the matchup. What you're looking for is the interrupt of Azir trying to knock up LeBlanc for the W so she doesn't hit the ground to get that point and get the damage off. Pobelter was able to pull off that time. We haven't been watching the entire exchange in lane. Feel like he must have not been able to do it before because of the lead that Bjergsen has. But right there, good execution, and he was able to force him out of lane, bring Santorin out of the jungle, force him to show, and reduce some of their overall map pressure.
You have a moment to talk about Shurima. Xmithy comes in with a little bit of safeguard help, and it's just going to be a pullback to Distortion there for Bjergsen. Aggression by Santorin. Both teams kind of with the same idea there on the return to lane.
Yeah, because of that one interrupt that Pobelter was able to get on a Bjergsen, he's pushing that lane in pretty heavily, and I like the fact that he went kind of all in onto Santorin there to get Rek'Sai out of the lane. Oh, Bjergsen landed the chain, though.
From just on the side. That's the reason they could go aggressive. Yep. Should get it soon, especially with having those soldiers up. And we were talking about his reaction time on Bjergsen. We remember Pobelter was the guy on Xerath to stop the LeBlanc W's with his stuns as well, being able to hit those. So his mechanics have always been on point. Probably why CLG picked him up. Could be one of those. It's 12.5 minutes into this one, and we are seeing no kills across the board, but still 1,000 gold lead through what's happened in the veins.
Yeah.
This was a pink ward that CLG had. Bjergsen cleared it out about 2 or 3 minutes ago, and now he's taking the same roam path down again. This is going to be tough for Double Lift to survive.
Oh, close though. They are on a double lift. Santorin flashes in for the knockup. Aframu, he's just getting tossed every which way, and will finally go down to the hands of Bjergsen. A lot of kills and assists picked up there.
Tough to survive a 5-man gank down bottom. Double lift, this is probably the #1 thing he complains about if you ever watch his stream. All 5 people pile on down bottom lane. They make it worth their while, though, because they can answer turret pressure now.
Now it's all about how they actually do answer. I mean, CLG didn't necessarily have the lanes prepped to answer that well. If someone sends 5 down, you almost want to be able to get 2 turrets. CLG can get mid lane, and they can't even control Dragon, so it's actually a turret trade, but TSM gets 2 kills out of it.
Such a good call from TSM there. Their mid turret was about to go down anyway. That thing was basically forfeit, and they were able to get a huge lead out of it bottom, and taking that turret down from about 80%.
First pause of the day.
First pause of the day.
My turrets aren't working.
There's 5 people bottom lane. What is this?
Yeah, double pauses the game. Excuse me.
I did not RSVP to this party. Still happened. So we'll get this figured out. You can see the scoreboard in front of you. We said there was just about 1,000 gold lead that separates these teams. Been pressed a little bit there by Team Solo Mid in the last few minutes, but towers look to be in their favor here. They did lose their mid, however, so forward wards could be placed by CLG to get even more in the face of Santorin, who's been having a great farm game. Maybe they can disrupt that.
Yeah, now's a decent chance to also check on the build paths a little bit. The fact that we see both Morel and Omicron, we're seeing more of that from mid laners, and if they want magic resist, they'll get it later. So because Pobelter needs to survive, the Bjergsen burst, he's gone for the no magic mantle. Outside of that, double lift with Hurricane first, which isn't actually the default on Callista, it feels anymore. Most are Blade of the Rune King or Bloodthirster. With the Hurricane, double is mainly just trying to keep up with wave clear because that's what a lot of this game has been.
Yeah, CLG's side wave management is going to have to be accurate here because TSM, they have so much of a mobility advantage with the Sivir and with the Rek'Sai teleport. They're really going to have to pay very close attention to their waves. As we just said, with the bottom move that just happened, we're not prepped to answer, and TSM were able to commit 5 members in one area.
Let's see that one more time.
Yeah, it's just, you can see, even if you look at the main map, Zion Spartan's not close. Doublelift did as best he can. He sidestepped the zone ult, then flashed into his turret, but then Santorin flashed on him as well.
There were 3 forms of crowd control hitting him in the face instantly. Depth charge, coming in with Bard.
And what happened at the end there from CLG is one of the worst things that can happen is you're late to a rotation fight. So when they sent 5, CLG essentially committed 4 to the same spot on the map, but because they were late, they couldn't trade objectives appropriately afterwards.
Aframu did all he could. Tried to save his double lift. They're getting Bjergsen's computer restarted here as he came back to lane. The health of the minions were not falling for him, so quick restart, and we'll get him back in and get that fixed up. Right now, positioning, we did just see that CLG was kind of towards the mid lane. They were working off of the replay we just saw where they took down double lift. But still, got a lot of work to do with what TSM has opened up on the rest of the map. Still even overall. With the few kills we've seen towards Team Solo Mid, it's not really opened up too much for them to keep going forward. Dragon is still yet to be taken, about 14 minutes in. Players
about to
patiently
get back
waiting.
into the game.
Yep.
The other thing to mention is that with this lead, TSM should be able to get a lot of map control due to Santorin's hard farm early. He is first to sight zone. He beat Lee Sin to sight zone. And Smithy's having to buy regular green wards and pink wards in small quantities to try and keep up with the vision. So everybody on CLG now is purchasing wards to try and keep up with the amount of map control that TSM have right now. They need to be able to make a counterplay very quickly and try and stop the bleeding.
Click on Lustboy quickly. 17 chimes collected for him, so he's got a few upgrades to those meeps.
The major upgrades to keep track of, in my opinion, for Bard is 5, 15, and 55. So currently, because he's hit the 15 breakpoint, not only does his auto attack with a meep slow on hit, he also gets to have a max of 2 meeps chasing him. He saves those up, you're going to have a lot more damage and utility in the team fights.
Get that meep counter going. There's another stack for him as you see it come up. He uses those to go around and collect more chimes, and we actually have seen him on the roam. It's Lustboy anyways. Always out of lane. Doing what he needs. Double lift to farm safe in that bottom lane once again. Looks like he actually is going to get some help from Aframu here.
Not the 2v2 that Double Lift and Aframu envisioned. Obviously the 5-man dive set Wild Turtle ahead in the CS by a little bit. But at this point, as Kobe was saying, it's kind of like a slow bleed for CLG. TSM just winning almost every matchup by a little bit. And if that collapses into a team fight, it's actually a 2,500 gold difference.
Something very telling for CLG, as Bjergsen goes in for another trade, is how they've really concentrated a whole bunch of these wards that they bought down around Dragon, really prepping for that. Pobelter Likes to live on the edge. Again, still sitting at that. Oh no, he picked up some magic resist for himself.
Great timing by Bjergsen's attacks there. As soon as Pobelter's throwing his soldiers, Bjergsen's in immediately, knowing the trade is his. Dragon's going to go down here. First one coming in at 16 minutes. Team Solo Mid. A team that'll let those go. A team that'll be okay with grabbing them. This game, it's just theirs uncontested. So they are happy to have that advantage. Not pressuring themselves in anything too crazy, though. I'm sure against Counter Logic Gaming, they're thinking the same thing could happen that happened against Cloud9. Get that lead, get too aggressive, and get flanked on your own engage.
It's actually a very big deal that Bjergsen was able to open up that window to take Dragon for TSM. The team with Sivir and LeBlanc. We keep on stating it. Every time we see this combo, the control of Fog of War and control of neutral objectives makes it very, very difficult for CLG later in the game. It's really hard for them to try and face check and try and fight back in a losing vision war. So if TSM, get that upper hand, it's going to be a rough climb for CLG to come back. There's some global gold though for their efforts.
Yeah, it looks like TSM, because the Dragon was down, decided to swap back, but then CLG very quickly took this turret. We mentioned the turrets have no added defenses, but it looks like CLG is going to be able to defend this one, giving them a turret lead for now. Which you have to credit CLG for.
Frozen Heart onto Zion Spartan first. It looks like he's going to have the Righteous Glory for himself. Again, the soldiers go out and Bjergsen goes in. Pobelter takes an unfair trade in that damage. Bjergsen gets out unscathed. Santorin with deep wards here, but he's found out by the Wisp. I'm not going to try to act on that too quickly here. TSM slowly working their way around the map here. They're not actually pressuring themselves to get too much. Not afraid that they're down a turret. Just playing it slow.
Yeah, it's a great feeling to be down a turret, yet still up in gold because of the early lead that they've accumulated. Dyrus down bottom by himself. Should be able to get some pressure while they see CLG focusing most of the people top. We got a recall, though, from Zion. We'll probably go try and collect that wave before it hits the turret. See if TSM can make any plays. Shoving up the wave to try and pressure Zion and then forcing him with the teleports.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned how CLG is kind of going for the late game with the Azir, the Kalista, and the Maokai. And quite honestly, they're going to need it at this point.
Yep.
Being up a turret, still down in gold. Bjergsen's strength will be incredibly pivotal because it's basically a two-threat team for CLG with Pobelter and Doublelift. If either one of those guys gets deleted by a LeBlanc combo, the fight's pretty much over at that point. A lot of it will really just do on CLG's vision control on Fog of War, and whether or not they can target Bjergsen almost before the fight happens, or somehow remove him from assassination potential.
Yeah, it's Aframu and Zion Spartan are going to have to combo to keep Bjergsen down. Those two guys with the point and clicks. That's what you need against LeBlanc. She's very slippery. Once she pops her passive, very hard to keep track of and secure the kill. But if they can even just chunk Bjergsen out early on, lock him down with some point and click, then that is exactly what CLG want. Buy time for the Azir and Kalista to put up that DPS and control the battlefield with their ultimates.
Well, the 1-0-1 may give him the ability to do the same thing he did yesterday with that blind pick LeBlanc. Just needs a little bit more time to get going and the fights to happen.
It's actually pretty cool with TSM. You often get an early signal of when they want to make a move because Bjergsen will buy that elixir. He doesn't have it right now, so I actually don't expect them to, to force anything too soon.
Interesting.
Vote changers. They exist.
Well, they like winners, and TSM are currently in the lead.
There you go. It's a good thing to like. People like winning. Minute and a half on to Dragon. Could be a little more win for Team Solo Mid, or possibly even up by CLG if they're able to grab number 2. The one chain missing usually means that LeBlanc wants out until she can do it again. And the harass going back and forth from Bjergsen onto Pobelter. He hasn't really been able to fight back just yet, but we haven't really seen the damage he's going to do in these team fights. Abyssal Scepter, Morello Namicon finished to him to the Morello Namicon Void Staff by Bjergsen.
Yeah, I'd say our next crossroads, the next point in our decision tree where we'll see what choice CLG make is in a minute when that dragon comes up. Because there is a top turret standing. They can very easily just give up dragon number 2. Doesn't give that much of a benefit. Yes, they'd like that 6%, but they can easily trade it for the global gold of a top turret of TSM if they so choose.
Yeah. What's interesting, though, is TSM was able to take the turret down before the dragon is respawned, so they might be able to recall and still 5-man fight. So yeah, CLG would basically have to commit resources right now to pushing that lane up if they wanted to give up the second dragon. At the moment, it almost looks like they're going for a turret, but they have to keep track of those mid lane health bars. The first time they were able to get a dragon, it's because Bjergsen chunked out Pobelter. Again, Pobelter is low and out of health potions. Could just happen again.
Forced to back here. And Pobelter actually stays for now. He does finally finish his back in the base. Looks like he doesn't pick up too much for himself, but HP, some pots, and he's going to be back out into the fray soon. Enough time to still get back to Dragon, and we should see our first 5v5 here, gentlemen. Keeping an eye on Dyrus. Where is he at? In base, not going to have Narbar, so it may not be the big engage from him, actually.
Oh! Poke damage onto Pobelter is the #1 priority. #2 is poke onto Doublelift, because Doublelift does have lifesteal, so he can go to a neutral camp, try and lifesteal it up. But the furthest one away there, the wolves are pretty far away, and that may be enough.
Q's on. The resonating strike is not taken. The no QQ.
So they made the choice to actually try and contest Dragon. That's the only reason for not pushing top and not trying to trade top turret for that. Yet, one move from Bjergsen, one combo of the poke from LeBlanc, able to earn them another objective.
So actually, watch TSM going up here. They're trying to pinch off CLG. Force them into this fight. What a hit. Very nice cosmic binding there to lock up Zion Spartan for a bit more damage.
Yeah, Bard actually has decent upfront damage as well, so that combined with LeBlanc just shows the poke-type damage that LeBlanc can put down. Although CLG, they're tired of all this stuff. They're going for a bit of a force, wanting to fight in that Azir turret. Good damage.
Whoa, maybe they should. This is that let's just group and see what 5 can do. A huge burst from Bjergsen changes their mind for a second. But with that base outside now, with that Shurima's Legacy set up, they have a turret that they can defend with, and they don't have to go back fully here. They can keep pressuring. Here comes the next wave. If Pobelter can get up there and use his soldiers, he cannot. That turret stays alive.
That's why Sivir is the go-to pick here for TSM. Not only the team-oriented ultimate, but wave clear when you pick an assassin mid laner. It's amazing to pair an assassin mid laner with Sivir. Just for this reason, Static Shiv plus Sivir, wave is gone.
Looking at how the lanes have kind of gone since the laning phase has itself gone away. CS is about 20, maybe a discrepancy, 40 between the 80 carries that Wild Turtle was able to push into his lead. 5,000, or rather 4,000 gold lead has just come out of the laning phase.
It still remained relatively close, but that's because CLG hasn't decided to take many risks. Anytime TSM lands a little bit of poke, it would be a risky or low percentage fight for CLG to take, and they fall back here. Now TSM pushing up the mid lane.
Whoa, Bjergsen onto Pobelter, puts the Emperor's Divide in, but Bjergsen already has the flash he needs to get out. Goes down, however. CLG collapses nicely on the fight, and the journey across, it's going to be a 4-man journey. A cosmic binding against the wall, something you have to look out for. Lustboy locks it down, but the dredge line comes through from Alpha Moon. He locks it down even harder. The sapling will slow, but they will not pursue. Chronologic Gaming comes up nicely.
Look at them chase after that one. So Pobelter takes the first risk by exposing himself to knock him back. And now CLG with the man advantage trying to take all the little things they can. Going for blue.
Going for blue, but taking a lot of free damage in the process. Doublelift's going to be able to cut them off here. Santorin just on the other side. Possible tunnel under the wall. He hits up Doublelift in a bad spot. They've stayed way too long here.
Yes, flash.
Meganar, indeed, a double man ultimate against the wall. That's Doublelift going down. Xmithy's now going to get hit up, and CLG has overstayed their welcome. A quick safeguard out saves Xmithy. Dyrus is going to walk them home to make sure they get out semi-safely.
CLG not respecting the base damage of these tanks. Dyrus and Santorin still at full health. Yes, you took out the 2 main carries for TSM, but even so, full health tanks in the meta right now. This is why they're so powerful. Also, TSM, after those 2 kills, going to pick up the mid turret. Yes, in hindsight, staying and overcommitting for blue.
Very much.
Very, very poor there.
You just mentioned that. It's close because CLG was staying safe.
It's also close, or that fight was close, because Lustboy landed about 4 double Cosmic Bindings in a row.
Yep.
He hit the double stun on about 4 consecutive Cosmic Bindings.
Lustboy made that chase incredibly difficult, and honestly, CLG falling further and further behind right now. You can see the fighting spirit in them, Righteous Glory.
Oh man, they want to skirmish hard and turn these into full team fights. You can see everybody trailing up. Doublelift would have been a bit late, but he still would have made it in time. They are hot to fight right now.
Yeah, and the other thing that we need to mention in this game as well is the Zion Spartan versus Dyrus matchup. Dyrus has definitely held his own, and he has not been focused down, dove, any unfortunate things like that, and that's another reason his Mega Gnar was so threatening right there. It's a 200+ CS Gnar 25 minutes into the game, and he was going to wreck people.
Yeah, he's
fights.
Frozen Mallet as well, so that's going to be a damaging Gnar if he can start locking you down in the fight, assisting with the rest of the team. 1:30 on to Dragon, as Baron becomes a bit of a dance for both teams before they get the wards they want and back off.
Yeah, TSM just have so many tools that are even better when playing from ahead as well.
Yeah.
They never really have to make those high-risk plays. They've got the tremor sense. They don't have to go blindly anywhere. Plus, Bard, as we've just seen, really thrives when being chased around like that. So if CLG get a little overexcited, or they're trying to press a small window because they feel pressured, it's the perfect situation for Bard to just toy with people as they chase him through the jungle.
COD's trying to set up this mid lane siege once again.
Yeah.
Sivir in base, so no wave clear this time. They didn't sync up the rotation properly.
A top lane turret for them shortly after. As well, this guy right on your screen, they're going to have to keep an eye on what lane he puts this banner of command he's finished on, as well as we get later into the game. That's something we've seen. Oh, actually, it just went out.
Yep. Bannered. Ranged minion.
Well, actually, something that CLG have done very well is control both side lanes. Both of them are pushing slowly in CLG favor. So they were able to take that mid turret without any sort of repercussion. Yes, this minion does not take magic damage. So
that's actually really unfortunate for Azir, because if a soldier's in range, the soldier will do the auto attack, and he can't actually do damage to it until the soldier dies. So Pobelter had to slap it to death very slowly.
Very slowly.
There's that side wave control.
Yeah. Getting it cleaned up. Couldn't stop it before it hit the turret, but CLG makes sure to have that kind of pushing before they need to do anything about it themselves to take down that turret. They actually get Doublelift and Aframu to stick up there. Smithy and Zion Spartan creating somewhat of a wall over towards Baron and some wards for them to keep them safe. They should be able to back out of this pretty easily. Bloodthirster Hurricane now finished up for Doublelift as he's getting his farm on. 267 to 233 in that lane, so it's stayed consistent in that deficit since they've been out of lane. Last Whisper on Wild Turtle, as long as his 2 other items. And we saw how much it was trouble for TSM if he's not at the turret, so they cannot afford to fall out of position like that again if CLG's pushing.
Another thing to keep in mind is when Azir gets his items, it almost doesn't matter who he's hitting. He's going to kill them pretty quickly. With Void Staff, Abyssal, basically, Pobelter gets 1 more. If he can get his death cap and actually set up in a team fight, it won't matter how tanky Dyrus and Santorin are. It can shred the tank line. So COG, even with this 5,000 gold disadvantage, if they can somehow keep Pobelter safe, can still do a whole bunch of damage. That'll be the start of it.
Tempered Fates himself and Zion Spartan. Here comes the teleport in. Should be safe for now. Smithy on the wrong side of the fight. Zion Spartan gets taken down as he twisted advances in one more time. Dyrus just trying to gnar out everybody backwards to stop the fight for Team Solo Mid. CLG is putting themselves on the front line and in the back line perfectly to make sure Wild Turtle does not have targets, and then they're able to focus him down.
Pobelter with some big-time plays early on here. Bjergsen though once more.
Oh, he goes in. He's able to take down 1. Aframu gets hit. Doublelift now onto Bjergsen. He's able to mimic it out. That mirror image giving him a bit bit of a mind trick. One last arrow. Can he throw it through? It's going to be Pole Belter shifting the soldiers forward and picking up the kill. Santorin lives with a sliver of HP. Crazy stuff.
Wow, what a fight there. CLG found a fight where they can focus someone down before Bjergsen can enter it, and now Rek'Sai ulted back into base. There's no teleport from Dyrus. Zion teleports in. Maybe CLG parlays this into a Baron.
The DPS for CLG did survive. They're beating on it.
And Kalista has the Ren secure.
Rek'Sai
So
on the way, though.
as long as they can get this to about 1,800 health without getting killed themselves, this Baron is CLG's.
Santorin doesn't look like he even wants to try for it.
Boom. CLG back in the game thanks to a tremendous fight from Pole Belter.
Strong team fight play there from CLG. Protecting Pole Belter and Doublelift. Pretty much freely auto-attacking both of these guys for the entirety of the fight. There's the stall from Lustboy to try and buy time for Dyrus.
I have to question the placement of that Bard ultimate. If he throws it on the squishes of CLG, it's not the Maokai that's going to kill him. Azir able to set up for after the Zhonya's effect wears out. Pole Belter gets super aggressive coming in. Bjergsen gets blocked by the Emperor's Divide on his first assassination attempt, which then is able to extend this fight more for CLG. And a beautiful flash hook there at the end for Afro to get Sivir. But Bjergsen still picked up something
the
else.
continuation of this fight where Bjergsen goes in to try and finish off a couple people. Makes a slight misstep there, and Doublelift is able to punish him. Almost able to juke him here as he goes back to the W, but Pole Belter will cut him off.
Went to auto-attack that minion on accident. Definitely cut some of his speed. Unfortunate. Team solo mid again towards the late game. Falter just a little bit while having a lead.
As we said, this was going to be CLG's focus the entire time from champion select. They're working towards that late game, looking to use that zone control of Azir and their strong tank line to control the team fights. Now they're grouping up with Baron buff, trying to knock down outer turret.
This outer turret should not be long for the world, especially with a few of the soldiers being used to burst it down. Sounds weird when you say that to a turret. 158 on the clock for Dragon. And it looks like Counterlogic Gaming is starting to get the positioning they want. They did not let the early game shunt their mentality at all. They're still going strong.
The Dragon will be incredibly important, but honestly, with the Baron up right now and a potential front line to stop Bjergsen flank, CLG really looking for a big opportunity here. How much damage can they safely get on this turret?
Sivir, at this moment, is godsend. Being able to clear these Baron Duff waves.
Also with the static shiv, making sure they can, since they were going to be getting pushed into the turret, they figured.
Pole Belter also with one of those elixirs of brilliance. Really got to watch out.
Something fascinating so far this split about TSM has been their priority on Dragon. Last split, they almost always gave up the first Dragon, were able to come back for it, still win games. In the Cloud9 game, TSM took the first 5 Dragons, could not close out a victory. This game, they're up the first 3 Dragons, but they're misstepping in the middle of the game and giving up some of their leads. Now they're on a bit of the back foot.
Oh, could be an ultimate. Eyes still on Dyrus. He's able to throw Zion Spartan back. It's still tanky, and that's going to give the team enough time. That's Doublelift and Smithy in the Bard out. Doublelift can still start to kite back. Pole Belter was just on the outside, but it's a triple kill for Bjergsen. The team was able to start kiting and make it happen. It is going to be Lustboy going down as Doublelift and Pole Belter now run for the hills. Bjergsen should be able to close the gap as he's going the long way around. He will get the cut. Doublelift will get hit, but they focus Pole Belter so they can clean up both of them. That's the mirror image. He's going to be able to get back in for the double kill, and TSM now capitalizes on a CLG error.
Gonna wait for the replay, but I think that flash cosmic binding from Lustboy onto Pole Belter and Doublelift together.
Lustboy did so much in that fight. First, the Bard ult to shut down Doublelift. After they pushed Maokai into the turret with Gnar, it just set up everything else for the rest of TSM. So Bard's debut in the NALCS has been a pretty good one. Not only does that prevent CLG from pushing mid lane, it also exposes a turret for TSM and gives them their 4th Dragon.
This is the Bard game Crepo was dreaming of.
From the last ultimate that we saw, it almost seemed that, you know, the ultimates haven't been used enough or figured out where to be used perfectly in the fight. But it just seemed like a misclick last time. Lustboy knows exactly where to be placing the Tempered Fate, and it comes up very big for Team Solo Mid. There a 6,000 gold lead just about as Dragon number 4 comes along. And that puts a lot of pressure on for Dragon number 5 even. TSM really has something to work with now.
It sure does. Team fighting has decided this game.
Yeah.
CLG with 1 victory, able to take the Baron. But man, let's take a look at Lustboy here. I'm only watching him.
This was so interesting. I mean, I'm not sure why Zion Spartan decided to jump on Dyrus, but then this specific Bard ult, stopping Doublelift and Xmithy while the tanks are in the turret, save TSM, and then watch for the Cosmic Binding.
There it is, the Flash Cosmic Binding onto the 2 priority targets, locking both of them up, buying TSM time to take out the tanks.
Whew. Knowing exactly what he was doing. Not afraid to go down as well, puts himself on a magical journey to death, just so his team can pick up more kills.
The work that the turret did as well is not to be understated. You point out the turret damage. That inhibitor turret was firing for half of the team fight, onto both of the tanks at one time or another. So the TSM turret right there also did quite a substantial amount of work, and Dyrus able to get that Gnar ultimate, throwing Zion in there, is what saved him.
Well, guys, we got a barn burner. See what happens for the rest of the game. Coming up onto 40 minutes. It's not going to even be that long, I believe. We only have about 4 before that dragon hits. And TSM is going to be wanting to stop this game.
Ludens and Deathcap being completed onto the Blanc just increased the level of threat. There's still no magic resist on Doublelift. If a combo is to be landed by Bjergsen, it has the potential to one-shot at this point.
Yeah, I gotta think that every one of Aphromu's ultimates, unless they catch somebody isolated, is gonna go straight for Bjergsen. Even if they force Bjergsen to use 1 W away from the team, that buys them some amount of time. 1 cooldown rotation.
CLG keeps going back to this play again and again, and I do like it because it's where they found their one team fight win, but it's up the mid lane, set up the Azir turret, try and push. That's the worst it's worked out so far. They expect them to be rotating down. They're trying to flank.
Nice little ambush set up. They didn't quite time a Righteous Glory with the exposure from Fog of War. So they didn't really have that jump start to the ambush.
The unfortunate thing is you don't get many of those options. The team will now know. This is the first time TSM has been back over here in a bit, so they're going to be able to set up everything to stop that from happening again.
And the opportunity cost of that ambush was the fact that they didn't clear the bottom road. So they lose a turret for that, and they also lose more control on the upcoming Baron, which is now just 10 seconds away. And look at the lack of wards that CLG has in the jungle and the Baron area.
Yeah.
Still a few to spot them on the outside, but TSM has a lot of setup on these.
Could easily
Running
lose
blind into this fed LeBlanc.
Scary game.
Was it enough? Dyrus half a bar in. Would like to get a few more shots in. Quickly goes up to about 75%. Doublelift and Zion Spartan. Oh, too early of a Gnar ultimate. The Emperor's Divide pushes them back just a second too early by Dyrus as he flashed in.
All right, they do have control of the map, though.
Yeah, initiation that they have to keep controlling this.
Such a close fight there. Obviously, Bardock comes in.
Teleporting in.
Zion's healthy. Scrying Orb on top of Baron.
Home guard tree, he heads in. That's easily the smite. Going over to Santorin, onto Zion Spartan. And it looks like TSM's going to be able to figure out which target they want. Now, who wants to take the magical journey? A Cosmic Binding only hits Xmithy. Santorin's into the back line. That's going to be Aphromu going down very fast. Pobelter is low, and he gets popped by the Ignite coming in from Bjergsen, who's full health after this fight. Like I said, they had all the chance to focus who they wanted, and they just piled on everybody in front of them.
Once again, CLG with the better start to the season, come in with a whole bunch of momentum, but TSM control the rivalry.
It's the same thing that happened to CLG we talked about before. As soon as they hit the TSM roadblock, they could not stop the slide, and it hopefully won't happen again for them, for the CLG fans. TSM on the Nexus, 40 minutes into this one, 17-7, Team Solo Mid takedown Counter Logic Gaming.
Gotta feel good for TSM after dropping the first game of the split to Cloud9.
Yeah.
They're able to take down the last undefeated team in the LCS in CLG. Everybody's a little bit wounded now.
Yeah,
here
that's
in the North American LCS. And honestly, Lust Boys Bard this game was really,
outstanding,
really strong. Some small missteps in the mid game, getting picked off by CLG, but then they turned that fight around at the Dragon, or at the inhibitor turret, controlled the Dragon, and ultimately the game.
Yeah, what you remember are the game-changing plays.
No, you got to look.
Wash away all the early game there.
You got to look at how that was played, especially Lustboy didn't even finish Talisman of Ascension. He's got a banner command. The guy was making plays all game long. Things that kept Team Solo Mid in the game on dives they were losing. Absolutely great play. You guys are correct. Bjergsen as well, blind picking the LeBlanc. Once again, coming out 8-2-6 on that one.
Yeah, Pobelter's Azir was impressive as well. Being able to go head-to-head against the LeBlanc, showing that matchup's volatility and the outplay potential that Azir has onto LeBlanc, and then also finding that one really critical team fight in the mid lane that really did give CLG a legitimate shot at winning.
Yeah, he didn't die in lane. He got a tremendous amount of damage onto the mid lane turret as well, softening it up.
He'll get another chance for revenge. He just wants it even more now. Great play coming out of the side of Team Solo Mid, all around the map. Efficiency in Dyrus' lane where it wasn't seen before, of him playing safer, being more tempered in his moves, as well as he said, when he calls for it, he would get the help of Santorin. And Santorin was down there frequently this game to make sure Dyrus did not fall behind. Smithy picking up the Lee Sin, also trying to do what he can for the game, but was not able to come out strong enough. Santorin outfarmed and outplayed.
Smithy, a pretty big non-factor on Lee Sin, trying to create some early game pressure. Lee Sin into Rek'Sai is not a good matchup, and he also wasn't able to find fights away from the Rek'Sai either. Really just almost invisible on the map this game for Lee Sin.
So if CLG could have done kind of something else in the middle of the game there, like you said, you liked what they were doing, pushing up mid, and it kind of seems like all they had, but could they have branched out and tried something different at that point?
I think what was missing for me was more aggression from the Kalista and the Lee Sin. Those are two champions that we thought were going to be. We keep saying they're scary because of the possibilities that they have for kill pressure early on in the game, but it wasn't there. And TSM, you know, game goes slow. Santorin gets the farm as he wants to, then they're going to outscale.
Yeah, we saw TSM pulling this like 2,000 and 3,000 gold advantage, and that was the early laning of the Blanc, which is Azir, which is somewhat of a given. The fact that Dyrus had level 2 before Zion Spartan did on Gnar versus Maokai, so he had the advantage. So therefore, the advantage should be the 2v2 lane for Doublelift's Kalista and Xsmithy's Lee Sin. He actually probably should have been going to that two-man lane, trying to force ganks, because that was CLG's chance of an advantage in that game. Even if it's kind of against the style they want to go towards, that was the correct play in this early game. CLG didn't execute on it and still had a chance to win, but they ultimately fell to TSM.
So 11-8 now overall, with 15-9, including playoffs from the head-to-head of those teams. TSM with 15, CLG with the 9. So there's definitely something that CLG wants to get back soon. They have another chance coming in the split. However, this win goes to Team Solo Mid. We're going to send it over to Zyrene at the telestrator to help us break down Team Solo Mid's win.
Thank you very much, Riv. And that game definitely lived up to the hype there with CLG versus TSM. And I'm here to break down a play that happened in the mid game, which is actually a little bit CLG favored. It's where TSM didn't get the most favorable of engages here. And you're going to see as we start rolling this clip out, Lustboy, and we're going to have a vision toggle here. You can see on the minimap, they don't have full knowledge of where Doublelift is at this moment. And he's going to come over and pause it right here. He didn't see that Doublelift was in this area at all because of the way that their wards are placed on the minimap. And this is going to set up Lustboy, because you're thinking, why is he right here? And why is he going to go here? There's no reason to go here when you see Zion Spartan was in this area and Pobelter was here. And they also saw Lee Sin and Maokai on this side. So he wants to get a ward here to set up a TP play from Dyrus, who's been pushing bottom. So what's going to happen is Lustboy goes into panic mode. Luckily, he's Bard. He gets to go through the magical journey. He gets to set up and engage, and Dyrus gets to TP into the fight anyway. So as we continue to roll the clip out here, you're going to see exactly that happen. Throws it up. Golden Age, maybe. But this is what happens. The ultimate comes down, TP comes in, but this gives Pobelter the opportunity, and I talked about it earlier in the day, that Azir needs prep time. You need to get your soldiers out. Well, Pobelter gets to sit here, camping Lustboy's body in the fight, just spitting out soldiers in one position that is not contested. Because the damage dealers are grouped together on CLG. They're not going to have any threat on them, because the threat from TSM's perspective is actually going to be Zion Spartan in here. So Bjergsen's going to come in from the side. He's going to blow everything on Zion Spartan. They want to get him off the field as fast as possible. So when they start doing that, it's going to leave their damage dealers open, and Wild Turtle eventually goes down after this fight as we continue to roll it out. Perfect prep there from Pobelter, just throwing damage out. Look at how uncontested Doublelift and Pobelter are this entire fight. They get to jump around. Doublelift gets to go into the face of Santorin there. And Bjergsen, his damage output is really just skittering around the fight, playing around little windows where he can jump in, blow people up, and then jump out. which he didn't get a lot of this fight. And that fight actually trails off into a really nice skirmish afterwards, where everybody's kind of low, overstays a little bit, and there are some misplays, but we don't have the rest of that for you here today, because that was the bulk of that play in that engage. But now we're going to hand it off to the desk with Dash, who's got an interview ready for us.
Thank you, Zyrene. I'm joined by Bjergsen, Lustboy, and Loco Doco after a very solid win. These games never seem to disappoint when you guys go up against CLG. They're plenty back and forth. So first to you, Bjergsen, as one of the longer standing members of the team and this rivalry at this point with all the newcomers. Talk to me about once again being able to, put the nail in the coffin over CLG there in one of these games.
It feels really, really good. Like I said yesterday, we scrimmed against CLG a lot, and they honestly looked like the strongest teams out of all the teams we scrimmed. And every single one of their performances in this yesterday and last week, they've just looked so consistent and they've looked so strong. So I was pretty nervous going into this game because CLG just looked really solid. It looked like it was really hard to really break them. So it felt good to be able to do that.
Well, right. When we look at CLG, this split, we see them as a very strong team. So, Loco, to you, the fact that they've started off the split so well, you guys had somewhat of a rocky start with your very first game against C9. Having been able to beat CLG here must feel pretty good in terms of the evolution and the building up of this the team through the summer split.
I mean, it feels great. Our mid game looked shaky in the game versus TIP and C9, and CLG's mid game looked really strong in the games they had. So I was a bit worried, but our boys really played well. Lustboy and Bjergsen played extremely well in team fights, and they were able to carry the fight through.
Well, let's turn to Lustboy here now. Fantastic Bard play. We've seen you play that champion before, but most people, after seeing it left up there, would have assumed that Aframu took it. You took it instead and made some pretty humongous plays. Was this planned from the beginning to leave it up and take it away?
처음부터 오늘 바드 할 수 있는 상황이 나오면 픽할 계획을 가지고 있었고 딱 마침 바드 픽하기 좋은 각이 나와서 바드를 픽하게 되었다.
Lust says we had it planned to pick Bard if the situation was right for it. Bard is a really hyped champion, so the crowd cheers every time. So we didn't pick it randomly; it was planned, and the situation came up, so we picked it.
We saw some incredible flash cosmic bindings there that really turned the game around when we moved into that mid game where, Loco, you were talking about CLG normally performs pretty well. There was one stumble for TSM where CLG managed to take a Baron off it and didn't look good for you guys, Bjergsen. What was communication like there in terms of getting yourselves righted as a ship and, getting back into the groove of things and finally turning that fight in the mid lane?
I think we just all felt like we had a hiccup, we made a mistake, but still overall we have been playing well that game and everyone felt confident in our comp later in the game. We had Sivir came out untouched in the early game and she just scales extremely well in the team fights with the speed and the overall damage output. So we felt like our comp was going to outscale. Sure, they got a Baron, but we can stall it out and they're going to have a hard time sieging.
Now, Lustboy, you were pretty instrumental in turning that fight as you had the flash over and you cosmic binding the Kalista and the Azir together. Big plays like that provide a lot of hype to the team, but how do you manage to keep your cool because there was still another 10 minutes of gameplay to follow that?
일단 솔로 큐에서 바드를 지금 100판 넘게 플레이했고 딱 그 큐 플래시 각이 나와서 큐 플래시를 했고 딱히 팀이 팔로우할 수 있는 각인지는 생각하지 않았지만 바드 스턴이 너무 길기 때문에 팀이 충분히 팔로우할 수 있을 거라고 믿고 그냥 그 플레이를 만들었어요.
He played over 100 games of Bard and solo queue, so he's pretty confident about his queues. And he saw the opportunity and he went for it. He wasn't sure if the team could follow up because there was a lot of distance created by flashing and queuing, but he went for it because it was a really good opportunity to go for it.
All right, well, and it absolutely did pay off. Bjergsen, a more micro question here. Yesterday, you played LeBlanc into Azir. You find yourself in that matchup again today against Pobelter, and I just want to bring that up because this matchup, when we were looking at it, was going to be a big one. TSM, a pretty mid lane-centric team. CLG was looking to attack that mid lane a little bit. You didn't seem to have as easy of a time with the LeBlanc Azir matchup today as you did yesterday.
I think in the majority of the lane, I had a pretty solid lead, like 20-30 CS. And then I made one mistake of trying to roam bot lane while Pobelter was backing. And as I stepped on a pink ward and cleared that instead, I lost a lot of tempos since he backed. And he got the Morello, so I was still stuck on the Phoenix Codex. So at that point, he was just a lot stronger than me, and that's why he really got the lane control. So if I had played it better, I had backed around the same time, I would have more gold, and I could keep that control in lane. So Pobelter just took advantage of my mistake, and he did that very well.
Very solid play from him in that regard. Now back to you, Loco. When we look at the TSM CLG rivalry and the overall record, now moving to 15-9 when we include playoff games in favor of TSM, you guys have gotten the better of them the last few times. What do you attribute that most to? Because it always seems like CLG looks incredibly strong going into the match, but they fall short when they come up against you guys.
Well, I mean, I would probably say our players. I think we have the most talented players in NALCS. Bjergsen, Lustboy, by far the best players in their roles. Centaurin, really good. Turtle, Dyrus, also really good. And our structure got better this season because we had one of our analysts, Parse, move into the house. So I would like to say our structure is better than theirs. I know they have a new coach and all that, but I feel really confident in our structure and our players.
Well, Lustboy, talking about the structure, how do you as a player feel that the structure, the team, the support staff that you have around you has helped you develop as an individual and as a team?
Very good. Very good.
Well, very good is good. Bjergsen, anything to add with that when it comes to the support that is lent to you guys through the management and the coaches?
I think we've just been constantly improving overall. Since Loco joined, I think, almost a year ago, we've just really learned how the players should mesh with Loco and how Loco should mesh with the team and really how we should be towards each other. And I think that adding Parth in the house and also having our analyst Dylan online, it really helps out that we have pretty much every single side covered. As soon as they realize a mistake, like our mid game it wasn't as good as it could have been against TIP, instantly they go back. They do a lot of prep work where they show us how we should go through this, what exactly should we do in the mid game with these kind of comps that we're playing. And today it showed our mid game was a lot better, and I can't credit that to anyone but our coaching staff.
Well, the structure is breeding excellence, no doubt. Once again, congratulations to all of you and the rest of the team on the win today. We are going to take a 3.5-minute break before diving into Game 4 with TDK and Enemy Esports taking center stage. Here we're going to get a look at Team Dragon Knights and Enemy arriving just a short time ago. Now, they've faced off in the Challenger Series, but this is the first time they'll do battle on the LCS stage. So a big game for both of them to prove their worth and their value in the LCS. Don't go anywhere. The action continues after this.
It's just, this game is do not lose out of lane phase. If we group as 5, we are going to destroy them, okay?
Alright, good luck guys, and keep up the shot calling for mid game and prioritize the lead.
Oh, they are on a double lift. Santorin flashes in for the knock-up Aframu. He's just getting tossed every which way and will finally go down.
You listening? I'm on my way. Nice.
Nice. Okay, Afro. You guys got him.
I'm coming for Afro.
Nice.
They're TPing.
On the TP.
Nar.
I have to splash out.
Nar.
He's rooted.
Watch it. Watch LeBlanc.
Sivir. I'm burying. Sivir.
Pobelter was just on the outside, but it's a triple kill for Bjergsen. The team was able to start kiting and make it happen. Santorin's into the back line. That's going to be Aframu going down very fast. Pobelter is low, and he gets popped by the Ignite. Team Solo Mid takedown Counter Logic Gaming.